Thanks for listening to this podcast of Trending with Timmerie. If you haven't already subscribed, please catch us wherever you love to listen to your podcast, from the Relevant Radio app to Apple, YouTube, you name it, we are there. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to go and give us a 5-star review to help other people discover the podcast. Anything you share in terms of episodes, whether it's texting it to a friend, posting on social media, helps to build up the kingdom for God, to help confront the challenging issues we face as a culture, but with joy, with hope, and with an eternal perspective where our faith collides with everyday life, bringing eternal principles to help us live our life joyfully. You're listening to Trending with Timmerie. While we're talking about kids, I've been wanting to talk about Hailey Bieber's recent stroke. Now, if you don't know who Hailey Bieber is, she's a model. She's 25 years old. She's the daughter of Stephen Baldwin, and she's married to pop youth sensation, Justin Bieber. Now, this couple I've talked a lot about over the last year or so. Ever since they got married, they've been quite the anomaly when it comes to the Hollywood scene. They are both Christian. They talk a lot about their faith. They jump on YouTube and Instagram Live and they just talk about God. And I'm not saying that they're the perfect couple. I'm not saying that like they're the pillar models of example, but a lot of young people follow them and subscribe to what they have to say. Yeah, I've been interested to hear and see how they might handle having children. It's been a couple of years now, I think, since they got married. And news came out that at 25 years old, 1 month ago in March, Hailey Bieber, or I guess a little over a month ago, I can't believe it, it's May, but Hailey Bieber had a stroke. Now, she's only 25 years old. She tells the story. She was there with her husband. I think they were traveling, and she started going numb through her face. She started experiencing paralysis, and she goes through sharing her entire experience of what happened. This girl is 25 years old. I don't know if you know this, but strokes are on the rise among young people. In fact, since I started to mention this story a couple of days ago here on Trending, I started having people reach out to me sharing I had a stroke. I had multiple strokes under the age of 30, under the age of 40. And it's one of those moments where you ask, well, what on earth is going on? Why are so many young people having strokes? Is just historically not a norm. It's not something that should be occurring for young, healthy individuals. Well, the first response to why Hailey Bieber had her stroke, when the doctors are trying to piece together the information, is surprising. And it's eye-opening, and it's a conversation I'm so grateful that Hailey Bieber brought up and that other people need to hear. Listen to this.
They did come to the conclusion of why they think I had a blood clot in the first place. And the conclusion that all of the doctors came to was 3 different things. One was that I had just recently started birth control pills, which I should have never been on because I am somebody who suffered from migraines anyway, and I just did not talk to my doctor about this. So ladies, if you suffer from bad migraines and you plan on being on birth control pills, make sure you tell your doctor, because having a stroke is a potential side effect from birth control pills.
Did you hear what she just said? The leading reason why her doctor's pointing to why this 25-year-old Hailey Bieber, wife of Justin Bieber, had a stroke is birth control. She recently started birth control, and lo and behold, not long after, she ends up having a stroke. What? Did you know that birth control can lead to strokes? And I mean, especially if you have a genetic predisposition towards strokes, if you have some sort of condition such as migraines, such as Hailey Bieber, she had no business being on birth control. Her physician had a responsibility to verify that she was an okay candidate, and truly there's no okay candidate for birth control. It's bad for women's bodies, whether or not you have predispositions to anything from strokes to migraines, again, blood clotting, all of that. This is the reality that no one's telling us. But you know what this comes back to, and this is why I wanted to talk about it during our weekly happy hour. This really comes back to the crisis we are seeing in the culture right now, that when we try to modify, manipulate, or change or transform our bodies to be or do whatever we want them to do, there are consequences. Now, this could include high levels of stress where we're overperforming and underfunctioning, and eventually we implode and experience an illness such as multiple strokes or a stroke at a very young age. This could mean we are chemically altering our body with hormones such as birth control with hormones. Hey, no one talks about this. Can we just mention for a second? This also includes the fact that people who are taking cross sex hormones, who are trying to identify as something other than their biological sex, I'm talking about this transgender craze, that when they do that, they're also increasing their risk to things such as strokes. And this barely even scratches the surface as to why birth control is bad for our bodies. At the end of the day, when we try to take babies out of sex and sex outside of marriage, our interpersonal relationships suffer. Our physical health as women is completely attacked and ravaged. And it's hard to get that back. I can think of a number of friends, one in particular right now, who's dealing with the aftermath of years of birth control use. She was put on it for it to be used as a band-aid for a medical issue that physicians were not solving the problem for. She wasn't put on it to stop having children or keep her from having children. No, it was a band-aid because birth control, there's a massive financial industry that pharmaceutical companies and physicians benefit from. There's a new type of birth control on the market every year, countless types. Working in the crisis pregnancy centers, we would see this all the time. And often young women wouldn't just be on one form of birth control, they would be on multiple forms. They would have implants, places we won't mention, implants in their arms. And then they'd also be taking some oral form of birth control because they're trying so desperately to alter the God given purpose of the body, thinking that if they do that, they'll be happier. Because ultimately, we pursue every choice as a perceived happiness, as something that will make us feel good, something that will make us happier. But as Hailey Bieber seen, birth control didn't make her feel better. Birth control didn't solve any problems. Birth control caused a stroke at the age of 25 years old. And as she said, she had no business being on birth control. There was a physician's medical malpractice in her instance. And we have the responsibility as people of faith who raised our hands and said, we will not subscribe to birth control because some birth control works as an abortifacient and actually can kill a living baby in the early stages of development. And other birth control does prevent sperm and egg from ever meeting, therefore preventing a new life from ever starting. The bottom line is the predictions of the church were right, that if we adopted birth control, St. Pope Paul VI, back in the 1960s, emphasized that we would objectify women. We would use it for population control. We would use it to harm people. And this is what we've seen. Birth control doesn't make us happier. It doesn't make us healthier. But the gift of being a parent, even if not at the right time, even in difficult circumstances, transforms and fulfills the human person in a way that no pill that promises the long-term ability to buy whatever car you want because you have no children, to travel wherever you want because you have no kids. None of that can bring or promise or buy happiness.